Hello and thanks for joining us. From two films about women seeking revenge for the murder of family members to a big movie about little people. Welcome to our weekly film show.
Es gab eine Explosion. Fahren Sie weiter. Mein Mann hat sein Büro gleich da vorne.
My daughter Angela was murdered 7 months ago. It seems to me the police department is too busy torturing black folks to solve actual crime.
What the hell is this? I'll see you on the other side.
I love you. And we're joined in the studio by our film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hi.
Now we're going to start with the film that scooped the most awards at the Golden Globes in the past few weeks, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. The French title translates as Billboards of Revenge. What's it about?
Or Billboards of Vengeance, yes. Well, what's it about? Frances McDormand, first of all, is wonderful, but then she's always wonderful. She plays Mildred Hayes, whose daughter Angela was raped and murdered in the title small town, and she's angry that local law enforcement hasn't found the culprit, shot rusty nails into his genitalia, made him drink rat poison while setting him on fire alive, and that is actually the dainty version of how she feels about this. So she makes her displeasure known with a strong language on a trio of billboards. And then not all hell, but let's say a good chunk of Hades breaks loose. Woody Harrelson is very good, but personally, I can't imagine how his character, the sheriff in a small town Missouri enclave, ended up with an incredibly attractive, much younger wife with a British accent. But here is Frances McDormand, after she won her Golden Globe as Best Actress, explaining her character's motivation, followed by a little conversation between Mrs. Hayes and Sheriff Willoughby.
Rage seemed to be, not rage, fury, which is a little more Greek and I think more apt. I have a son. He's the dearest thing to me in the entire world, and you're never supposed to lose him. Could pull blood from every man and boy in this town over the age of 8.
There's civil rights laws prevents that, Mrs. Hayes. And what if he was just passing through town?
Pull blood from every man in the country, then.
And what if he was just passing through the country?
If it was me, I'd start up a database. Every male baby was born, stick 'em on it. And as soon as he'd done something wrong, cross-reference it, make 100% certain it was a correct match, then kill him.
As you can see, she's focused on revenge. Sam Rockwell is a deeply stupid cop, and the Oli's excellent Peter Dinklage are also standouts in the cast. I laughed out loud at several junctures. I'm still thinking about it, but I'm not as excited about this film as an awful lot of people seem to be.
Why not?
Well, the director also made In Bruges, which played for months on end here in France, and which I much preferred, and then 7 Psychopaths. The film's very original, but any number of characters and pleasing ironic connections between them and a nice spin on forgiveness, it just didn't grab me as much as I'm being made to feel it should. But it's an excellent film for the present moment because it's about a really, really, really angry woman with good reason to be.
And playing angry women seems a good way to get attention at the moment. Frances McDormand won the Best Actress at the Golden Globes, and Diane Kruger won the Best Actress in Cannes this past May for her role in the German film In the Fade.
Yes, and she deserved to. She left Germany 25 years ago to pursue a successful modeling career, and this is the first film she has actually made in her native language. Now, Diane Kruger has an incredible range, if you think about it. She can do dopey extravaganzas like the National Treasure movies, offbeat roles like the double, possibly triple agent she played in Inglourious Bastards. She played Marie Antoinette here in France in Farewell, My Queen, and this time she's completely convincing as Katja, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed German wife and mother in Hamburg, whose world is shattered when her husband and their young son are killed in a bomb attack. Her husband, Nuri, was of Turkish heritage and had done prison time for dealing drugs. Now, we can see that he is a completely reformed small businessman, a loving husband and father, but the police assume, why? Because he's Turkish, that he was killed by rival drug dealers or perhaps Kurdish enemies. And the truth of who planted the bomb is infinitely more sinister. Inspired by recent events in Germany, Fatih Akin's film cleverly incriminates societal assumptions. Now, here's Katja being questioned by the detective in charge of the case, who finds her comfortable standard of living inherently suspicious.
Wie haben Sie Ihren Mann eigentlich kennengelernt?
Ich habe als Studentin Gras bei ihm gekauft.
Ihr Mann hat während der Haft BWL studiert und kurz danach sein Büro eröffnet. Seine Geschäfte waren Steuerberatung und Übersetzung.
Er hat auch Flugtickets in die Türkei verkauft.
Wussten Sie um seine Einkünfte?
Ich habe seine Buchhaltung gemacht.
Sind Sie noch anderweitig berufstätig?
Ich war Mutter.
And the insidious truth is that the police are absolutely barking up the wrong tree, because lethal racists determined to whip up xenophobia against Turks, Kurds, and Greeks commit a dozen murders in Germany, for real, between 2000 and 2007. And the wheels of justice just drove off in the wrong direction. And that's both worrisome and infuriating. The courtroom scenes here are devastating. And it's the kind of movie where you ask yourself, what would I do if I were in Katja's shoes and faced with so much injustice? And her way of coping remains suspenseful right up to the very last frame.
Well, to prepare, Diane Kruger went to live in the multicultural neighbourhood where the film is set. She won the Best Actress award at Cannes this year, and she told France 24 about her preparation for the role.
I moved to Hamburg, and for 2 months, pretty much every day we would, talk about the script. I met a lot of people that have been victims of horrific crimes, that have lost mothers, have lost their children. I still carry it with me, that grief and that emptiness for the people that are left behind.
Now, there's a movement afoot to give women more roles in movies, and that's as it should be. And so people now have jobs going through scripts and trying to find out which roles are neutral, could be played by a man or a woman. Akin wrote the central role for a man, an actor who ended up playing a lawyer in the film, and switched to a woman when Kruger said she'd love to work with him someday. And boy, was that a good idea.
Well, now to your film of the week. It's Alexander Payne's Downsizing, starring Matt Damon. Now, it's where scientists shrink humans to 5 inches tall as a solution to overpopulation. Tell us more.
Well, that's a tall order. I had heard that this film has a terrific premise, but that it somehow couldn't sustain its narrative momentum and more or less peters out. But I love this movie, and it does not peter out. It evolves in ways I could never have predicted. It's full of excellent actors breathing life into a very strange concept, which is superbly rendered via excellent visual effects. Now, this is an exquisitely bittersweet look at everything from what ordinary people can do to save the planet to what ordinary people can do to save themselves. And that sounds smarmy, I know, but there's not really a lot of time to be smarmy when you have an actor like Christoph Waltz as a transplanted Serbian bon vivant who at 5 inches tall has more knowledge of free trade in his little cuticle than Donald Trump has in his entire body. Paul Safranik, played by Matt Damon, is a physical therapist who, with his wife, feels cash-strapped. They can't afford a bigger, nicer house than the one he actually grew up in. And at a school reunion, they meet a former classmate who has chosen to get small, a procedure perfected in Norway that safely shrinks humans down so that their resources go way, way farther. Now, how does this work? In real life, they have about $200,000 to their name, but once they get small, that will be the equivalent of $12 million. So, nice house. Much smaller people create very little waste, so it's great for the ecology. And on their way to take the plunge at a community called Leisureland, where he and his wife's bodies will be reduced to 0.0643% of their current mass and volume, Paul speaks with another passenger.
Moving to town, or are you?
How's that?
I see you're moving to Leisureland. You look like a nice young couple.
Thanks.
Where are you from?
Omaha.
Spokane. Nervous?
Yeah, little.
Don't be. It's the best thing you'll ever do.
Some people say this film falls apart as it goes along. Do you agree?
How shall I put this? They're mistaken. They're completely wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. The debt this film owes to movies like Fantastic Voyage and The Incredible Shrinking Man is paid with the addition of lots of humor, because Alexander Payne makes deadpan comedies. And by the way, Downsizing sold the most tickets of any of the 11 new films released on January 10th in France. And why is that of interest? Well, the film cost $68 million to make, but has only earned about $24 million in the U.S. so far. And when movies don't earn back their costs, the unforgiving American machine starts beating up on them and bullying them and implying that they never should have been made in the first place. And so the wisdom of foreign audiences is important. And so far, the French are leading the charge to be wise about going to see this movie.
Okay, and we're going to wrap up now with some Disney films that were restored in the made in the 1920s. They've just been restored, and it's Disney, as we've rarely seen Disney before.
Absolutely. These are the Alice comedies. This is actually volume 2. They're incredibly imaginative and borderline surreal and really funny animated adventures into which a real-life little girl named Alice has been inserted to interact with mice and cats and fish and all manner of barnyard critters put through their paces by Disney. Now, these short films, 4 of them, are perfect for kids as young as 3, but I couldn't stop giggling. The artistry is considerable in the service of really silly tales. In one, Alice explains to a group of rambunctious young boys how if it weren't for her, all the Eskimos would have starved. And then we go back into an animated scene where we see how there's fish on strike, actually on strike under the ice, who don't care to be caught. And Alice, with the help of a cat, saves the food supply. And we meet the cat showing off how well he can ice skate. And he's not only on his front paws, he's also on his tail. He's got ice skates on his tail. And gravity is no match for the animator's pen. Disney made 56 Alice comedies starting in Kansas City before moving to Los Angeles. And he stopped the series in 1927 to devote himself to Oswald the Rabbit right before Mickey Mouse. And this is the second batch to be restored, and it's adorable. And Virginia Davis, one of the little Alices, lived to be 90. And since all of them were made before synchronized sound, there's a wonderful soundtrack.
Okay, well, Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to leave you with the Alice comedies. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.